Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday, happy day of the Lord. And now it's church today. Oh, I'll be taking you a comprehensive tutorial on HIS 304. That is AU and African relation. That means African Union, African unity, and international relation. Now, under this course, we'll be talking about the first international organization in Africa that was created in Africa, which is what? OAU, Organization of African Union, Organization of African Union. Now, this OAU we are talking about, Organization of African Union. It is not Obafemi Awolowo University, Organization of African Union. What year was it established, or what year was it created? It was created in the year 1963. That is May 25th, 1963. Hope you get me right. 25th of May 1963. Good. You see, before the creation of OAU in 1963, period to 1963, Africa has been divided into two groups, two block, BLOC, not block, the one used for molding and building houses. No. Block group, that is in political terms, or in historical or in international study terms. Block means group. The kind of political or ideology or economic group you belong to, it is called block, BLOC. Now, before going to the creation of OAU itself and what OAU entails, I will like to take you on the division in Africa before the creation of OAU. And you see, I want you to pay rapt attention, because that itself, that division, caused a major problem for OAU itself, and also is part of the resounding factor, part of the underlying factor that led to the collapse of or demise of OAU. So let's move on now. Before the creation of OAU in 1963, I told you Africa was divided into two major blocks. The first block was the Casablanca group, while the second one was the Monrovia group. The Monrovia group came out from the what? Came out from the group known as the Brazzaville 12. I will explain that later. Now let me go to Casablanca group. Firstly, the Casablanca group. Who are this Casablanca group? You see, the Casablanca group are a group of countries. A group of countries. They are, listen to me very well, they are radical in nature. I believe you know the meaning of radical. When somebody is radical, stubborn, always want to do things in the hard way. They do not want peace. They want violence. Yes, violence. They believe that what you want to achieve, you can achieve them through violence. You can. Peaceful means of achieving things is not in their dictionary. It's not in their own vocabulary. They prefer to fight war. They prefer to fight to achieve things, rather than to do what? To speak normal. Okay, let's dialogue. Now, you see, the background of this Casablanca group came from particular three countries, that is Ghana, Guinea, and Mali. The president of these three countries, Sekotore Modibo Keita and Kwame Nkrumah, the three of them came together one day. And that was on the 23rd of November 1958. 23rd of November 1958. So they came together and we were dialoguing that we need a kind of a group that will serve this purpose. And what is the purpose? That will promote the economic interest of the organization. That will promote the economic interest and economic relationship between the three countries, that is Mali, Guinea, and Ghana. And in that meeting, they also suggest that they will be meeting quarterly in the capital of each country, that is Bamako, Conakry, Kry, Conakry, and Accra, which is the capital of Ghana, ACCRA. Bamako is that one for Mali, I think. Yes. So they will be meeting every 4 months. That means at the end of each 4 months, they will meet at the end of April. Maybe it will be in the capital of Ghana. Then they will meet at the end of August. That will be in the capital of Mali. They will meet at the end of December. That will be in the capital city of Guinea. So that was how they planned it to be. And then they said they will also set up some committee that will ensure that those things they have said will be monitored and then will be achieved thoroughly. Do you understand? So that was the conclusion of that meeting, and they actually formed that group. Yes, they formed that group known as the Ghana Guinea Union, which Mali later joined them in 1961. Do you understand me? So that was the essence of that group. But it was later on that this group came into the Casablanca group. They metamorphosized while joining other countries with themselves. They metamorphosized. That means they changed into the Casablanca group, which we want to consider today. So now, who are these Casablanca? You see, I already told you that the Casablanca group are a lot countries that are radical in their ideas. They are radical in their output. They are radical in their operation. They believe in radicalism. They believe in violence. They believe in forceful ways of doing things, of achieving independence, of fighting colonial war, of doing this and that. So that is what we need you to know. Okay, now who are the members of this Casablanca group? We have Algeria, we have Mali, Morocco, United Arab Republic, that is Egypt. We have Ghana, Mali, and Guinea. Now, what was the purpose of creating this Casablanca group? What was the reason why this Casablanca group created themselves? One of the first reasons to do was to get rid of the remaining traces of colonialism in Africa in a radical way. Yes, they wanted to get rid of anything that has to do with colonialism, whether colonial enterprise, whether colonial business, whether colonial schools, colonial this and anything that has to do with colonialism. They want to get rid of everything in Africa. Then another thing is to foster cooperation in a radical way among African states. Yes, they wanted all African countries to come together in a way that they would repel European presence in Africa. They wanted them to have a cooperation so as that it will feel as if they do not need the cooperation, they do not need the assistance of the Europeans again or outside world. So to these people, Africa is self-sufficient. Africa is self-reliant, that we can grow on our own. We can be isolated from the world and go on our own. We don't need Western value. We don't need European values. We don't need their education. We don't need that. We don't need this and that. We want to be developed on our own. So that is their own aim. Then another thing is that another purpose is to do what? To secure freedom and independence for Africa. Yes, that's one of their main purpose again. They wanted to secure freedom and independence for Africa. That means every African country under colonialism, they want to make sure what they are free from colonialism, but in a radical way, not in a peaceful way, in a do or die way. It is either you give us or we kill ourselves. Then another thing we need to know is this: the last purpose of which this group was created is to give financial and material support to countries that are fighting nationalistic war. What does that mean? When they see a particular country fighting for independence, they will go and give them money, they will go and give them materials, give them weapons to fight war against their colonial master, instead of encouraging ceasefire and looking for a way to settle the fight between them and probably bring them together and settle the fight for them, then ask for a peaceful way of getting independence for those countries. No, they will support those countries fighting for independence with money, with support, with anything they can do to make sure they win the battle against their colonial master. So those were the purpose of what? Purpose of Casablanca group. Now, what are the ideas, the ideologies, and the work of this Casablanca group? What were they able to do? The first one was that, or what were they able to do, or what did they want to do in their own idea? Because some of it they did not achieve most of what they want to do, of which I will specify. The first one was that one of their ideology or one of their ideas is to have an immediate political union in non-African states. Yes, they want all Africa to be one, just like the United States of America is one, United Kingdom is one. They wanted all African countries to be one. So there will not be Nigeria, there will not be Mali, there will not be Congo. No. Every country will now become just one. So we have a united African country, just one. That means Africa will no longer be a continent of many countries. It will be a continent of just one country. Do you understand? So they want immediate political union of all African states. So immediately, because of that their vision of one political state for Africa, then they proposed a national capital and international capital for Africa, which is at Bangui. That is at Central Arab Republic, CAR, Central Arab Republic. So that was their first ideology, which did not succeed. Then the second one is creation of a joint Africa High Command, which will consist of all the chief of staff of all independent African states. Yes, they said since we are proposing a single central state, then let all the head of the chief of staff of every country come together to form a joint high command. So it will not be as if they lose their power. So they will still be powerful and contribute. They will be in an organization that will be controlling some responsibility. And what will be the responsibility of this joint African High Command is to do what? To provide security, to monitor and supervise the security need of the union, and then to prosecute colonial wars. If there's any part of that African state now that there's still colonialism, then it is these people that will prosecute colonial war. You know the meaning of colonial war? To fight against your colonial master because you want independence. In another word, colonial war is what? Independence war. War that is fought primarily because of what? Because you want independence over Gbomindira. You will see some children fighting their parents. You know, you are 18 years old, you cannot control me again. They are fighting colonial war, they are fighting independence war. They wanted to be free, they wanted independence, they wanted freedom. So, but these two did not succeed. Their ideas too did not succeed. And then another of their work or ideology was that what? They were against the position of the Brazzaville group on the issue of peaceful talk and roundtable discussion for the independence of Algeria by President De Gaulle. Now, France was the one who colonized Algeria. So it got to a period of time, Algeria were agitating for independence, we were fighting for independence. So the president of France the then president of France, President De Gaulle, Gaulle, De Gaulle, now call for a peaceful and roundtable discussion that please my people, don't fight, don't kill yourself. Yes, we know you want independence now. Let's now talk. Let's settle it peacefully. How do you achieve your independence? How do we grant you your independence? These are the things we need to be independent. But you see this Casablanca group, you know I told you they don't want peaceful things. They disagree with that president that why should you call for a roundtable discussion? Fight with them. Fight with these people. They must not be free. Fight with these people. They cannot be free for nothing. Fight with these people. So they condemn that president for what? For taking what? For taking a decision on roundtable discussion. Another thing is what? On the Zairian crisis, Zairean, on the Zairian crisis, they supported the Prime Minister Patrice. they supported Patrice Lumumba and called for the US to use force on the Katangese secession. Do you know what this means? Patrice Lumumba was this Zaire. Patrice Lumumba was a prime minister, like the second in command to the president of that country. So, and the name of that president of the country is what? Is Kasavubu. Yes, his name is Joseph Kasavubu. So he wanted to use force to get power from the president. But these people were actually supporting this Casablanca group because they did not like the president. They loved the prime minister, so they supported the prime minister that he should be able to seize power from the president, which was wrong. So they were supporting what? Coup. Then the last one is what? On the Mauritania issue. They called Mauritania, you know the spelling of Mauritania now, Mauritiuria. They call Mauritania a puppet state, that means a baby state. They said it was carved out by France from the southern part of Morocco. Definitely that it is part of Morocco. But now, when France had carved them out, Morocco was fighting to do what? To take them back. So this Casablanca group were now supporting Morocco to do anything against Mauritania to get them back. Either they want to go to war, let them make sure Mauritania is back to Morocco. So that is it. Now, that is all about the Casablanca group. Now, on moving to the Monrovia group now. The Monrovia group started as what? Brazzaville 12. Let me spell the Brazzaville. Brazzaville. Brazzaville 12. And what does that mean? Brazzaville 12. From that figure 12 consists of 12 former French colonies. That means 12 countries that were formerly colonized by France. Example here what? Example is blah. Example of those countries, we have Burkina Faso and Co, Senegal, a lot more others. So you see, this Brazzaville charter, when we say something is a charter, CHARTER, charter means a covenant, it means an agreement, or it means a constitution, a legal law that is binding on an organization, through which the mode of operation of that organization is based on. Do you understand? So you see, the Brazzaville 12, they started when that covenant was signed on 19th of December 1960, but they begin their full operation on what? 12th December 1961. You see, the Brazzaville 12, I said they start with what? The former French colony, 12 of them. And these people were in opposition to the Casablanca group idea. The first one was that what? On the Zaire crisis, they supported what? President Joseph Kasavubu against Patrice Lumumba. Do you get me now? So, you know, I said the other time that this Patrice Lumumba was the prime minister. So he wanted to forcefully collect power from Kasavubu, the president. But this Monrovia group, they are peaceful set of people. Tafawa Balewa was part of them. Our first prime minister, Sir Alhaji Tafawa Balewa, RIP, and all others. We are part of what? We are part of those. This Monrovia group, their own ideology, they support peace. They are in opposition to what? To the Casablanca group. They support peace. They support peaceful talk of achieving independence. They don't want killings. They don't want war. So they believe in negotiation. They believe in, come, let us speak one on one. So how do we sort out issue rather than fighting among ourselves? So that is their own idea. So these people actually did not support Patrice Lumumba because he is not the rightful owner to the power. He wanted to forcefully collect power from what? President Kasavubu, which is not right. Then this Monrovia group are part of those who support non-aligned movement. I believe you have been taught non-alignment movement. That is only the code word. Non-aligned movements include a numbers of countries in third world, or let me call them the third world countries, majorly in Africa, Minor Asia, Antarctic, Latin America, and so on and so forth. So those countries were just newly independent then. Majority of Africa got their independence in the 1950s stroke 1960s. So most of these countries come together under the Monrovia group and did what? And said we do not want to join in the Cold War. We don't want to be a partisan in the Cold War. We don't want to be a participant in the Cold War for some reasons. So they stood aloof. They stood neutral. Yes, they were neutral during the Cold War. They neither support USA nor USSR. Although if you get to your 400 level, by the time you are doing Nigeria foreign policy, you will find out that Nigeria was not really following that principle. But that is not for today. Then the Monrovia group was set up as a means to maintain French sphere of influence in Africa. Yes, those people set up that group because they wanted to maintain their relationship with France in Africa even after independence. But Casablanca group want every European traces to be destroyed. Either you are Britain, you are Germany, you are France, you are this, you are that. They care less. So you can see the difference between them. And then these people also set up a committee of three people from each country, from each member state. That means from the members of this Monrovia group now, they chose three people from each country to do what? To stand in that committee. And then another thing is that on the Algeria crisis, the Monrovia group praise and give accolade to the president, that is French president, the guy, on his willingness to negotiate or to involve a referendum to settle the issue of Algeria independence. You know, I told you Algeria were fighting for independence and the president of France called for peaceful talk. So these people highly praised the president that thank you, instead of calling for war, you are for peace, so we love you, we thank you, like that. Then on the Mauritania issue, these people condemn USSR, who happens to be one of the major world power. They condemn major world power. This country condemn USSR, that why should they use their veto power to deny and to remove Mauritania from the UN, from the United Nations membership. So they condemn the removal of Mauritania by USSR through the using of what? Veto power. I believe you know the meaning of veto power now. Veto power is the ability of one of the security council of the United Nations to either support a resolution or reject a resolution, and whereby if out of the 5 permanent members, if one of the permanent member should say no to a resolution, the resolution cannot be passed except if a 2/3 vote is achieved among the 15 members. That is, if we have like what is the 2/3 of 15, or we have like 12 votes from the 15 permanent member, from the 15 security member. You know, in the UN, the security members, we have 15 security council members in the UN. 5 are permanent and 10 are non-permanent. So that is that. Okay, that is if we have 8/15. So that is it. So now let's go to the birth of OAU. Let's go to the birth of OAU. Now, what can we say about the birth of OAU? Now, looking at the introduction I just gave, the differences in Africa before 1963, that is the Monrovia and the Casablanca group. Now, these two factions were present in Africa. So how do you think there is going to be a solidified unity in Africa despite this division? So in 1963, the president and monarch of Ethiopia. I've forgotten his name. His name is called Emperor blah blah blah. I've forgotten his name. Go and look for his name. I will not look for his name for you. I've even forgotten. So is Shah an emperor something something. I've forgotten. So that man, that emperor called together all these two factions. No. So all these people called together these two factions, the Casablanca and the monrovia, said, come, this fighting you are fighting will not earn you anything. And that meeting was actually called on the 15th of May 1963. So they now begin a series of roundtable discussion on how to settle the differences between the two groups, to settle the quarrel between the two groups. So their meeting was hereby successful 8 days later, that is on the 23rd of May 1963, when those two groups actually relinquished their oaths, and then they signed the charter, the agreement, or the covenant, or the agreement of OAU. The agreement of OAU, or the constitution of OAU. So that was how OAU started as an organization. So OAU started on the 23rd of May 1963, when the Casablanca group and the monrovia group came together to unify their differences, although it was not totally unified because it still caused a lot of issue and problem in the organization, which led to the collapse and the demise and the dissolution of the organization. So now you see, the birth of OAU in 1963 signified 3 things in Africa. The first thing was what? It signified the fulfillment of the agitation of the need of African countries for a transitional organization where they could jointly confront common problems and achieve mutual goals and objectives. What does this mean? This means that the creation of OAU in 1963 was actually a fulfillment to the need of Africa. And what is that need? Africa need an organization that will help them to come together to speak in one golden voice, and that will help them to join hands together, that will help them to put all hands on the deck to fight against their common problem. What was their common problem as at that period of time? Colonialism, poverty, they needed redevelopment, illiteracy, lack of good education, lack of good health facility, and all others. Large indebtedness. So those were the common problems facing African then. So they needed one voice. If one African country should be fighting it alone, then it will end in what? Premium disaster and premium tears. Just like Arsenal always end the premium tears at the end of every season, because they are the only one trying to fight Man City. Then another point is this. It's the creation of OAU was a tangible and concrete realization of the Pan-African aspiration of African nationalists. Yes, African nationalists like Kwame Nkrumah, Yanni Bolasi, Alhaji Tafawa Balewa, a lot Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Secretary of Guinea, Modibo Keita of Mali, and all others. Yes, Dr. Charles Seligman, we have them like that. So they are actually much. So those are the ones I could mention. So what are these African nationalists fighting about? They are fighting about the total emancipation of Africa from colonialism and from racism. They are fighting for equality for all black race in the world, whether you are in the new world, the old world, the dark continent. You know, the new world is America, the old world is Europe, dark continent is Africa, the oriented world, that is the Orient, or the Orient world, that is India and Asia and co. So that was how the world was divided then. The world was divided into at least maybe 4 factions then. The Europe, America, Africa and Asia. I don't think all others were really known. Those Antarctic, it is just now that they now divide America into South America and what are they calling it? It's not America. America was America then. So then the last one is that the creation of OAU. The creation of OAU brought a framework for African unity despite the division between the African countries. Well, despite the division of the Monrovia and the Casablanca, the this and the that, the do's and don'ts between them, the creation of OAU was a milestone in African unity, in coming together of Africa. That shows Africa were ready to do what, to pursue common goal despite their differences. So now let me now go to the aims and principle of OAU. Now, what were the aims of OAU? When this organization was created, they had some goals they wanted to pursue. So what are these goals? What are these goals? The first one is what? To promote unity. That is the aims, the purpose, the goals, and the reason for the creation of OAU. The same thing. The aims, purpose, goals, and reason for the creation of OAU. One of it is to promote unity. Yes, to promote unity and solidify solidarity in Africa or among African states. I believe it's well self-explanatory to promote unity among African countries so that they can fight for a common goal. Then number 2 is to do what? To coordinate and intensify cooperation to achieve a better life for Africans. Yes, they wanted to achieve OAU. One of the things OAU was after was to do what? Is to achieve better life for Africa, to make sure Africa is better off, to make sure Africa can compete in the international settings with their counterparts. Then number 3 is to defend Africa's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence. That means they will be able to do what? To fight for African sovereignty. You know the meaning of sovereignty. That means Africa will be able to take decisions on their own. European leaders will not be the one taking decisions for Africa again. Then territorial integrity of Africa will be respected. No European country will come and do what? Will come and bombard and annex African territory as their own again. No. Then another thing is to do what? To eradicate colonialism and imperialism in Africa. That is to stop and cancel every colonial activities in Africa. Then the last one is to do what? To promote international cooperation. Yes, OAU has gotten or had gotten a seat in the United Nations Secretariat then, yes, but it's a pity the organization collapsed. But as at the period of its existence, OAU was able to achieve international cooperation for Africa. Now, what are the principles of OAU? What are the teachings of OAU, or what is the foundation through which OAU build or OAU is being built upon? The teachings, the covenant of OAU. Number 1 is what? Sovereign equality for all member states. Sovereign equality for all member states. Yes, OAU believes in what? That believes in the equality of their member states. That every member is equal. Nigeria, Mali, Ghana, Congo, and everyone is equal. Despite your financial capacity, your population, your technological advancements, the day you got your independence, every African country is equal. 50-50. No preferential treatment, but that actually is a fallacy. It doesn't exist in that organization like that. Number 2 is what? Non-interference in the internal affairs of states. Yes, OAU does not meddle with the affairs of other states. It does not meddle with the internal affair of their members, except the member state calls for the intervention of OAU, which was very rare as at the period this organization exists. Then another thing is what? Respect for sovereignty. That is the third point. OAU actually respect the sovereignty of all their member states, so that's why they don't tamper with the decision and internal affair of their members. Then another thing is what? Peaceful settlement of dispute by negotiation, mediation, reconciliation, arbitration, and all others. OAU on its own prefer to settle disputes amicably between two warring factions or between two countries. Instead of them going to war, they will have to settle it on a round table discussion using diplomacy. Then lastly is what OAU was dedicated to total independence of all African states. I believe that one is self-explanatory. It is their dedication to do what? To total independence of all states. Now, what are the organs of OAU? Organs of OAU. Organs of OAU. Number one is what? The first organ or department in OAU is Assembly of the Head of State and Head of Government. You see, the assemblies of this head of state comprises of all the head of state and government, all the president, the prime minister, the military head of all African states. Yes, and this is the supreme organ of OAU. That means this is the decision making organ of OAU. They are the one who take the final decision in OAU. And you see, these people meet just once in a year constitutionally. But according to the constitution, there is provision that if there is any emergency, any member can call for the meeting of the head of state and head of government. That means only in the case of emergency can they have more than one meeting in a year. But originally they are legalized to have just one meeting except for an emergency. And what is their own duty? I have said one of their duty the other time is to take decision. Then another of their duty is to do what? To interpret and amend the organization charter. Yes, it is their own function to do what? To interpret the covenant, the constitution, and to amend the constitution of OAU. Now, the second department in OAU is what? Council of Ministers. This comprises of all the foreign ministers in OAU. That means the foreign ministers of all African countries. The foreign minister of all African countries. That is it. And these people are legalized to meet every 2 years. Every two times in a year. 2 times in a year. And their own duty is to approve the annual budget of the organization, to approve the financial, economic, political, and any other budget of the organization. And then the council of the minister is also responsible for preparation of agenda for summit of HOS. For the summit of the HOS, you know I told you the HOS, that means the head of state department or organ, can only meet just once in a year, or except for emergency case whereby they can have 2 or 3 meetings. So that meeting is being prepared by the council of ministers. They are the one who prepare the agenda. That means what to discuss, things the head of state should discuss on. So that is it. Now another department in this OAU is what? The general secretariat. Yes, I believe you know the meaning of secretariat. Now in this general secretariat, they always have a secretary general and the deputy secretary general. So this secretary general is always an office that is only held for 3 years. 3 years. Anything aside 3 years, the person is gone, is out. So the secretary general can only serve a period or a term of 3 years. Now you see, this secretary general is appointed by the head of state, but it is through the recommendation of the council of ministers. Now what is their own function? The function of a secretary is administrative function. I believe your HOD has a secretary, and you know the work of the secretary. So definitely the work of the general secretary of the OAU is just for administrative function, to assist the council of ministers and the head of state. Another thing is what? Another department here is Commission of Mediation, Conciliation and Arbitration. That is another organ or another department in OAU. Now what is these people duty? These people duty is to settle fight, to settle quarrel, to settle dispute. Either it is on land, either it is on money and any other thing among member states. Do you get me? If you don't get it, forget about it. Now the last department is what? Specialized commission. They have other specialized commission in OAU, like the technical department, the health organ, the scientific and the research and scientific department, the sports department, the food department, information department, the clerical department and all others. So they have all those in OAU. Now, what are the challenges of OAU? We are nearing the end of the lesson, of the section. So OAU has some challenges that led to their limitation of failure. So you can either see the challenges or the limitations of OAU. So what are the limitations or challenges of OAU now? Number one is what? The difference in opinion among member states. You know, when you gather a lot of people, it is not possible for you to have, if you gather 50 people, and you call them for discussion on a particular topic, every one of them will not agree on a particular opinion. No. Some will agree and some will disagree. So what affected OAU is what? Difference in opinion. And what is that? The reason is that we have Anglophone country and we have Francophone country. Francophone country are countries that speak French in Africa, that were colonized by France, while Anglophone country are countries that were colonized by Britain, but they speak English. That is Anglophone country. So there is always difference among them, because the idea of the Anglophone country is quite different from the idea of the Francophone countries. And then the issue of this Monrovia and Casablanca group, you know, they only came together. Their idea was not really solidified, was not really unified. So it caused a great problem for the organization. Then another thing is that the organization lack a central army. Yes, they lack central army. So they don't have any central army. That's one of their challenges, that could enforce their resolution and their law. Another thing is that what the organization suffered economic and financial problems. So that's one of their challenges. Yes, they face the challenges of what? Economy. Because so many African states are poor. Then another challenges is what? Inequality among the members. Yes, some members donate money more than other members in the organization. So those countries that donate more money are seen as being superior to the others. And this causes a kind of problem in the organization, whereby some countries want to lodge or want to control others by making them to accept their own decision. Another thing is that OAU is weak institutionally. What do I mean by weakness institutionally? Is that they can only make law, they cannot back the law. Yes, they cannot back the law because of one of their charter. In their covenant, it is among their rule that the principle of non-interference, you know, I mentioned it the other time, under the principle of, so you see that principle of non-interference was a great challenge to OAU itself. It was the work of their hand that destroyed them, because when those African countries were fighting, majority of African countries were fighting for independence, and some of those countries were even fighting internal wars. Some countries were fighting themselves. OAU could not interfere because of their principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of their members. So those countries saw OAU as a weak country. So it's one of their challenges. Then another thing is that you see the kind of leaders we have in Africa also creates problem for OAU, because most of them were disobedient, they were tyrants, most of them were sit down tight leaders. You know the meaning of sit down tight? Àwọn tó ti sọ oyè president, tó ti sọ political post di oyè ilé bàbá wọn, àwọn máa kú mọ́, àwọn kú sórí ipò, ẹ̀mọ́ mi ni kú sórí ipò. People who do not want to live there, owó yẹn ti fẹ̀ mọ́ lẹ́nu. And then the last one is the last challenges of the OAU is what the Secretary General itself has been rendered ineffective and inefficient because of African leaders. Yes, some of African leaders have silenced the Secretary General. Now, what are the achievements of OAU? One of the achievements of OAU that is very paramount that we need to mention is what OAU was responsible for decolonization of many African states or many African countries. Yes, OAU was really instrumental in getting independence for so many African countries. Name them. Most of them got their independence through what OAU. So that is a kudos to the different organization. Well, another thing is that OAU gives military assistance to their member states. How do I mean by that? If there's an insurgency in a state, OAU will give them military support by sending them ammunition, sending them money. E.g., we can find Tanzania. Tanzania was facing war, was facing issue of rebellion like the one we face in Nigeria, this Boko Haram something. OAU supported them. Then another thing is that achieving non-aligned movement during the Cold War. Yes, OAU was very instrumental, and kudos should be given to them on how they were able to coordinate African countries towards the non-aligned movement. That means they do not allow them to participate in the Cold War. Then settlement of disputes, yes, between countries. OAU also tried their best in settle disputes. Example, the fight between Benin Republic and Niger. OAU settled that amicably. Then last one was that settlement of boundary and land dispute among member states. Yes, OAU really tried their best by settling dispute between members because of land. Example is Burundi and Rwanda. Yes, they settled quarrel between Burundi and Rwanda. Now, the failure of OAU. One of the failure of OAU is OAU had no commanding power, no centralized army. So that's one of their failure. They failed. And then another thing is that OAU cannot enforce their resolution and declaration and their covenant. They cannot back it up. They are only seen as a toothless bulldog, a dog that can only bark but not bite. And then OAU is weak because the powerful countries in it are the one subjecting it, ruling it. So that is that by that. And this will be the end of this lesson. So I wish you success in your exam in Jesus' name. Amen.